we should do that interview the way Dr. Mayat did us.
Oh, see.
I said the way Dr. Mayat and them did their assessment of our critique of STEM. I said we should just find like a 8-second segment and then do a 2-hour response. That's what I was suggesting in jest.
I got a little bit longer.
If Yvette said the word "the," we're gonna do 3 hours on.
The definite article is Eurocentric, and these ignorant ADO. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. That's all she deserved.
Well, listen. She got something in common with the sister. Yvette and Maya have something in common. Both of them was talking about pan-Africanism and Diallo and how his pan-Africanism is ineffective. So
she said Africanism. That's it. We're gonna do 3 more hours on that.
Yo, play that shit, man.
I don't want to see this, man. My morning, y'all start me off, Mumia, just pain and depression, and then y'all throw this up here.
Don't say y'all.
I believe that Pan-Africanism has become a religion as opposed to a kind of any kind of political outlook that has any kind of proof of concept. And I believe the person that is blocking reparations for ADOS are people like her, who are saying, regardless of what the Supreme Court is telling me, regardless of what makes sense, everything has to have a criteria. Like, you don't walk into something and say, it's for everybody. No, even when you have a lawsuit, you say, who was harmed, who was in the car? You don't say, well, everybody else was harmed in some kind of way by traffic, right? That's not the kind of conversation we're having. And so for me, for her, like, I honestly feel like Pan-Africans are holding the reparations for ADOS hostage, because you walk around now, you see Ron Daniels and local reparations, and he's saying it has to be for all Black people. And everybody is telling you that does not make sense. Even other countries are telling you that, like, what you're doing does not make any sense. So, and let me just push back a little bit on our people. All Africans are not my people in the sense of, it's interesting to me. You can go to Africa and they'll have, it's 54 countries, hundreds and hundreds of tribes, right? Like, they don't even have unity on the continent, but you are willing to stand in the way of my reparations in order for me to have some type of connectivity and relationship to people that I don't have a relationship with. That's the same as telling me I should have a relationship
she's talking about?
With somebody from Ecuador or somebody from Yugoslavia. Listen, these are separate countries. A lot of these countries don't even have good relationships. A lot of tribes don't have good relationships. So the idea that, and when you talk about Black Americans, we're still 90%. So you're telling us, unless we do something for people who got here either in 1965 or after 2000, you don't want to do anything. To me, that is an ideologue. To me, that is somebody who is an ideologue and who is standing in the way of reparations for ADOS out of the fact that they wore a RBG flag and they had an UNC or whatever they had in high school. And I just
So part of her argument was that the Caribbean people and most people that come to the country outside of the United States, they're coming to get all of the gains and the reparations that the civil rights movement has afforded them. If it wasn't for the civil rights movement, Jamaicans, Haitians, whoever else wouldn't come to US and get, this reparations. So that means because they got that, they don't deserve any other type of reparations.
I gotta. Sorry, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
But right before that clip, Cornel West's vice president, Melina Abdullah, was pretty much trying to explain that she's a Pan-Africanist. I don't think she did a good job either, but that's her. That's the image of Pan-Africanism that your sister was there to tear down.
So, but Yvette, again, I haven't paid attention to Yvette in a meaningful way in several years, but it doesn't sound like, admittedly from that clip, it doesn't, with little I've seen, it does not sound like she's updated her approach. So at the time when I was attempting to engage, her argument, very similar to that, was after making her first and only visit to Liberia, and as she described going shopping in the malls, she encountered Africans who were not welcoming of her. And that was part of how she built her approach, and I remember trying to engage her on the
Liberia,
point
that ADOS.
never mind the history of Liberia. Never mind
ADOS. Liberians are ADOS.
But again, the point I'm getting at is that even that initial level of analysis is lost on her. And then when I tried to add that if you go and engage on the basis of tourism and shopping, you will be treated as a tourist and a shopper. If you go on the basis of politics and actual Pan-African solidarity, you will likely have a very different experience. But to pick anecdotes based on how you engage, to then extrapolate from that an argument against Pan-Africanism is flawed. Then, of course, there are the questions of how is Pan-Africanism defined? What is her working definition of Pan-Africanism? She does not engage the one, for instance, that comes out of the AAPRP based on scientific socialism. She doesn't distinguish between even the basics of a Garvey, Du Bois. She doesn't do any. There was none of that. It was a condemnation of, and then there's also no class analysis of the continental Africans that do come here and how they engage or how they're invited to engage. And of course, there's no grassroots political organization with continental Africans who are themselves part of an activist struggle who would engage with her very differently. And then very lastly, it's a very white supremacist conservative approach to tell Black people to disconnect themselves from the diaspora, to base it on anecdotes and snippets of cherry-picked histories, to deny the state's preference for a destruction of radical Pan-African unity, and to align oneself solely with the United States, as if that is somehow the logical solution to problems caused by the United States, and almost exclusively to their benefit. So this idea that reparations are going to come to Black Americans only, and that this is somehow going to be reparative, be a redress, advance anyone, and be a total solution, is itself again a conservative notion. So
throughout the interview, Mark Lamont Hill is throwing her really soft volleyballs to not even connect with the ball. But there's one more clip. I know Diallo got to suffer through it. This last one that I just said.
Oh, okay. All right. There's more.
Diallo, why are you so mad at Yvette, man?
I'm not mad at her. I'm mad at you.
What? I didn't break this thing. I ain't put this on the run sheet.
You didn't put this on the run sheet. Who put this on the run sheet?
You want me to read it? Jared?
What did I say? Yeah, read it. What did I say?
I said we have to deal with. I was asked to deal with this, and then Diallo was like, "Well, yeah, let's deal with it." And then I was like, "Okay," and I put on the run sheet, and none of y'all can pick it off.
You're looking that up. Are you reading?
I'm right. I can read it.
You said, "Do you want me to read it?" And then you're pretending to hold the phone up, and you ain't looked down at the phone yet.
Wait, man.
I mean, this man.
I was doing something. I gotta go to it.
Ain't gonna work
He
no
did.
more.
He did.
Like, you want me to read it? You want me to read it? And the phone. You
Jared,
never looked at the phone.
Okay, I will.
What'd I say?
Jared said, I was asked if we would review this. I would only agree to watch it if y'all want to. Otherwise, I cannot stand her and would be happy to skip it. And Diallo said, gross. I can't stand ADOS. And I said, LOL, sounds like a skip. Diallo, we may be obligated. We may be obligated. Maybe we can break it up or pick a segment, do your vet like Dr. Maya and crew did us. That sounds like put it on the run sheet. I ain't finished. I put it on a run sheet. I said, hey, this is a run sheet for this week. Can we forget vet yet? Trump on the chicken circuit. Mamiya's team. Anything else to add or remove, like I always say. And y'all too never said anything. So I thought y'all wanted to talk about this. So anyway, let's go.
I just need to clarify that my comment was
wait. You left out. You didn't identify the emojis.
What emoji?
The emojis.
You did leave out the laugh emoji he put on there.
Emojis, and then y'all responded with laughing emojis.
Diallo.
I laughed at that too. Yeah.
Diallo, how old are you? Because I don't read them emojis that well. I don't understand them emojis.
But, you know, because that is the modern day version of hieroglyphs. We speak through images. So if you were connected with our ancestors and cultures, you would understand and comprehend the emojis.
All right. Am I playing this or not?
Yeah, because I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
All right.
I'm saying, can we do both? And can we, on the one hand, say we're fighting for reparations for ADOS, to use your language, but we still want to foster relationships around the globe? Is it possible to do those things as a practical matter?
No, no, because Pan-Africans don't have a proof of concept, right? We haven't done enough. We are wealthless and falling off a cliff. We haven't done anything for ourselves. So asking me that is not about whether or not I have affection for people. I do, but asking me that is like asking me if I'm drowning, is there a way that I can pull up 10 more people with me? Right? Is there a way to pull up to with my one
That's
vest
not
to
what,
pull these
wow,
people
this
up?
is that's terrible.
You have to be able to do
honest,
what you have to do in your corner of the world. Now, if ADOS get reparations, I'll be the first one to go on tour and talk about it and talk strategy. But right now, I think what happens when you don't do that is you have a group of people who are scattered and unfocused. So when I'm not trying to take shots at Ron Daniels, but it's easy. Because this is this biggest thing that he's tried to wrestle away from ADOS, right? In terms of he wants to do the reparations project. Well, now he's saying now he's writing articles about barbecue in Haiti. What happens is that you're not going to do either of those things well. You're going to be, what do they call it, a master of none. You're not going to do that thing well. You have to fight for the people that you have to fight for, right? You have to be able to fight in your corner of the world, and you have to win.
I mean, it's what the proof of concept line. I mean, I'm sure it works well with her crowd, but it's the proof. First of all, the proof of concept would have to be explored in relation to, again, Western Empire intervening to destroy Pan-African solidarity. It has to be taken into consideration of it being itself an anti-colonial project in a struggle against colonizers. So, and then I also so which of course she ignores all of that. So this reference to a proof of concept without. But then the other thing is that I love that she seems to have been targeting here Ron Daniels, because to me that exemplifies what is, for me, ultimately the conservative nature of the reparations argument and community. That she's not struggling, she's not in an argument in this case against radical Pan-Africanists and grassroots organizers and revolutionaries and political prisoners. She's in a black capitalist struggle, hands for what are ultimately crumbs with another of a variant of her form. She's just been more isolated in her focus, narrow in her focus, but the same broader politics largely adhere. But so yeah, I'll that's, I guess that's really it. That's wild. That's wild.
So me and Kamal was doing something, and we met this lady who was like, "Oh, my cousin does the same work that y'all do," and he started a movement, the ADOS. I was like, "Oh," she was like, "Tone," and I brought that up because Tone and Tone specifically, like, he's really big on the racial wealth gap and closing it, and 10 things we get wrong about it, and her mentioning that, like, arguing that, you know, the difference between passing down wealth and the utility of wealth. And I wonder with you, Jared, like, I know Diallo says, you know, this is one of the reasons why we probably shouldn't use the wealth gap as something to measure. But if you could correct how it should be used in terms of the wealth gap again, and then also, like, I guess close with saying why, you know, soda is more logical.
Well, I mean, the short of it, one thing I just want to be clear that my biggest issues with Tone and Yvette have not actually been our political disagreement. I'm actually okay with having political disagreements. It's that they have engaged wildly disingenuously with lies, outright lies. They've targeted mine and other people's employment, and encouraged others to do so, even going, as I've talked about before, so far as to lie about what I was wearing at an event to disparage me without engaging my actual argument. And it was interesting in one of those articles that you referenced about the closing the wealth gap. They referenced my work. Yvette we used to be cool with each other at the very beginnings of her platform. We were cool with each other. So and my point in bringing that up is that one of the issues that I have is that, like many, they start with a basis of fact, the horrific conditions of Black people in this country. And then the difference is that they take a very rightward trajectory to get to a solution. And their solution is focused on reparations from the United States government, which they are arguing in a variety of ways. They used to be in league with Sandy Darity, and I don't know exactly what happened with that. But the argument used to be, or when I was more familiar with it, and I'm not aware to the extent it's changed, is that reparations is going to somehow close this gap and give Black people, in their language, this self-driven start. And I always find it fascinating that when reparations activists talk about reparations as a movement based on autonomy and sovereignty and self-reliance and do for self, when it's a petition to the most powerful entity and most grievous thieving colonizing entity in world history. So, which is again why how I try to engage them, that when I look at history and I look at the contemporary situation, revolutionary pan-Africanism, if not being a perfect solution, has many of the answers that we would want to have in terms of creating the wealth, creating the global protection and relative sovereignty for African people, in providing cover for, for instance, as many have argued in the past, a good way to cover and protect Black America is to have a strong African continent working in solidarity with Black people here and throughout the diaspora. So even if it's looked at selfishly to a certain extent, this is not again about all Africans running off and holding hands in some kumbaya. It's about recognizing that the power of solidarity and the real pooling of resources, as opposed to fantasies about buying power or Black wealth and income, et cetera, and so forth. So my last point would be, again, I'm still not, where is reparations and ADOS finding its proof of concept in terms of being a winnable struggle that solves the problems facing Black people? Again, when she and others argue that people like me are representing some old guard, some old decaying analysis, what they ignore are at least two things, and I really will stop here. One is that their analysis is, first of all, white supremacist, colonial, and capitalist, whether they recognize its origins or not. And secondly, that it is the older form of an approach that is forcing a colonized community to wed its hopes and aspirations to the colonizer, is the oldest form of abuse. Reparations, or particularly, reparations, even mainstream integrationist struggle, and certainly revolutionary Pan-Africanism are more nascent, newer forms of radical approaches to the problems caused by that initial colonial relationships and encounter. So that's why soda all day. It's the literal, political, and figurative opposite of ADOS. Exactly.
So Diallo, as our themless Pan-African in residence, what's your final nail in the coffin for this lady we should forget?
I don't even think that, even though I appreciate and agree with Jared's analysis, I don't think that she's even worthy of this depth and level of rebuttal. She's anti-Black. She's anti-African. She's anti-solidarity. She's anti-poor. She's a professed and proud classist. She even gave a talk on her own YouTube when she talked about when she was on campus at her because I mean, even if you qualify as I do as her definition of an ADOS, she doesn't hold solidarity with you. She complained about how when she was on her HBCU campus, how the neighborhood Blacks, the N-words would come and rob them and harass them, and that there should be greater protections and greater barriers between the students who were striving to better themselves and the rabble of the Black community that surrounds the campus, because they be robbing us. So, I mean, she's trying to isolate the African diaspora and put us in very specific boxes with strict barriers between us all. And then within that small box that she's creating of ADOS, within that box, there are strict divisions and hostilities that she's trying to create. So she is nothing more than recycling the talented 10th, recycling cast down your pale. She is really ironic when she's talking about pan-African ideologies and pan-African consciousness that emerged out of the 60s, when this woman is dredging up a Negro, and I don't even think conservative is too good of a word of it. Reactionary, but I think just calling it. So she's going back more than 100 years. Everything that she's pushing went obsolete over 100 years ago. This mentality, Marcus Garvey was banging against this mentality. We's American. You know, cast down your pail where you stand. You have to make your way where you is. She's the one with the old tired ideology. She's the one with the disproven, discredited method of advancing our interests. She's just put new terms and a new spin on it. But we wrapping yourself in the flag, that goes all the way back to the house Negro versus the field Negro. She just turned the house into America and the field into every African outside of the confines of the United States. The house Negroes are the ones with a Social Security card, and the field Negroes are Negroes without American citizenship. She's the one pushing tired, obsolete ideologies, not us. She's the one pushing something that has already been implemented, advanced, and failed, not us. But the thing with conservatism, as Jared called her a conservative, so I'll run with that. I think that's, again, too kind of a term. You too kind of these sisters that be kicking you in the shins, Jared. Toughen up. You know, I'm gynocentric myself, but you take it too far. But when you look at conservatism, as Jared calls it, Black or white conservatism, there's an old saying, for a conservative, every accusation is a confession. If you look at the larger conservative movement, they're like, oh, the liberals are sexual predators. The liberals don't take personal responsibility. The liberals just spin and they're financially irresponsible. You know, and so, and the liberals are queer and gay, and then you look at them and every single one of them. You know, the liberals don't have family values. And then their king, you know, is being spanked by a porn star while his wife is laboring pregnant in the hospital. So every accusation is a confession. So everything she says bad about pan-Africanism is untenable. It's tired. It's divisive and all this shit. It's literally her confessing. And when you listen to conservatism within the Black community or listen to their white handlers, their white owners, their white masters, that's what it is. And I think we're giving this woman and her forehead way too much attention and time.
He said forehead. What the fuck?
And I'm over here jealous of her high top fade. I'm mad.
That's not a fade.
I'm
That's
mad.
not,
Whatever it was.
Well, they call that
Whatever it was.
That's not even a full word for that. It's just what is, and then she got the nerve to style that.
Hey man, come on, man.
Let it be.
You about to get us,
And I have to say this to African people:
get us canceled, bro.
Type of justice from the system. The white man does not have a magical justice jar with a limited amount of justice in it. So when he gives justice to Haiti, or when we talk about justice for Palestine, when we talk about the Congo or the Sudan, when we talk about justice, when we talk about refugees in the United States, the Venezuelan refugees or the Haitian migrants, when we talk about these groups and what they need and what they deserve, it does not detract from our justice. You're not losing something when the system, when you see another group rising up and speak to their interests. Justice is self-replicating. The more justice you have in the society, the more you get. And there's so many populations of Black people popping up talking about, oh, they getting something, or they're making a demand, or they're taking a stand, or they held a process. What about us? Because there's this concept that if the white man's giving justice over there, which often it ain't even giving justice. But when you imagine that the white, he's emptying out the justice jar, and he's gonna be enough left over for us. So as an African and a liberationist, you should hold solidarity with all just aspirations, all movements of justice, because as one movement of justice advances, so do we. So justice is self-replicating.
I want the big piece of chicken, Diallo.
It's not a limited commodity or resource. They keep telling us these things are limited commodities and resource. That's why they got Geechee drinking water out of a gallon jug.
Thank you for reminding me, bro.
Sports. It's not. They commodifying everything. They've even commodified justice and made it an elite, limited resource that we fighting each other over to get a little piece of.
Cheers to my brother Diallo. Toast to the world.
I want to.
Okay, yeah. What is that?
Damn, what Diallo's talking about. I want the big piece of chicken, and I want the extra biscuits and the gravy. If they're giving it out, if they give it out.
So let's get into some of this Q&A the segment.
The freedom wings.
You got to earn your liberation.